I want to welcome you guys to the internal shift that your next level of wealth has been waiting for you to step into. And so, if you're somebody who is tuning in, if you are somebody who is here right now, that tells me that you know that you are absolutely ready for your next level of wealth. Not someday, right here and now, the only time that exists. And I'm not here to convince you, okay, that wealth is possible. You know that. What I'm here to support you with is to show you the internal shift that actually makes wealth inevitable. And I'm going to show you how to speed that process. And it will only work if you choose and you decide in this moment that you are ready. Now, many of you know me, many of you don't know me. So let me share a little bit more about myself and why I am inviting you to pay attention today and to listen to me. I built my first seven-figure business using my intuition before I even knew that that's actually what it was called and what it was that I was doing. I spent 20 years in corporate making millions of dollars for companies. And I'd walk into never been built West Coast regions at top women's lifestyle brands and build them from the ground up fast. And my bosses and everyone around me thought that, wow, Wendy's got such a great strategy. It wasn't the strategy, my friends, it was my frequency. And people bought my frequency, so they handed me millions of dollars. Then, when I got laid off about a decade ago, I gave myself 2 years to replace my six-figure paycheck as an entrepreneur. And I did it in 18 months. And then I went ahead and I built a seven-figure coaching business in just 4 years. And I did something very courageous, which was making a decision right after my mom passed away that it was time for me to move on from that business and to build my current business that is scaling to seven figures again. Oh, and I also help run my family's real estate business on the side. Now, I didn't learn intuition in a book. Okay. It wasn't like I tuned into a podcast and boom, there it was, or there was something that popped off the pages. Those were stimuli for me to realize what was actually happening within me. And I used it to create millions and a legacy for my boys. And I've spent the last decade also studying Kabbalah, theta healing, Reiki, sound healing to decode exactly how it is that it works for you and for me so that I can peel it, right? I always say that we peel back onions for you. And here's what I have witnessed a lot of my clients not do is that they don't understand that your next level of wealth, it's not a strategy problem. It's actually a trust problem. And the thing that you distrust the most right here, right now, is actually your intuition. Now, I invite you to drop an emoji in the comments or in the chat if you're here because you do know how to make money, but something is actually feeling off at the current level of where it is that you are. Go ahead and write something in. Put something in the chat. Now, as you're doing that, I want to be clear about something that is rooted not only deep within me, but it's rooted deep in Kabbalistic wisdom. And that is that wealth lives in the light. I talk about this a lot with my clients. And in the light is abundance, limitlessness, expansion. That's where we're going, right? But the truth that nobody really wants to hear, or that I don't actually hear a lot of people talking about except for me, is that it's really hard to see and to know the light without knowing the dark. They both require each other. It's actually a symbiotic relationship because they're mirrors to each other and they require one another. Now, you may be saying, yeah, but the dark is bad. Well, it's not. It's actually necessary because it shows you where you are. So you can choose differently and choose a different path of where it is that you want to go. And here's what I see so many of my clients get wrong until they come to me is they trust their intuition in the light, in those moments where they feel deeply connected in the light. When clients are signing, money's flowing in, everything feels aligned, you're riding high, that it's easy, right? Things you can do in your sleep. And the results you're getting prove you 100% correct. But in the dark, you abandon the light. And how do you do that? It's a little sneaky, and I'm going to tell you how it is that you do that. You override it with strategy and logic and looking to see what other people are doing and borrowing that for yourself. And I call that knuckle gripping, white knuckling. That's what I meant to say, white knuckling, because you're gripping so hard instead of trusting and listening deeper. And that is exactly where your wealth is slipping through the cracks, or rather your fingers. Because wealth doesn't actually respond to control, it responds to trust and faith. Trust in the voice that says, not this way. Trust in the nudge that says, take a breath, you need a pause, go take a walk. When everyone else is saying, go, 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 your ego, really. It's about trusting in your own knowing that, I don't think this is it, even when you can't see what is yet. Now, type trust in the chat in the comments if you've ever ignored your intuition and overrode it with logic, especially in those moments where things felt uncertain, right? So let me ask you guys a question. Where, and be honest with yourself, nobody's seeing this but you. Where in your life do you trust yourself in the light and abandon yourself in the dark? Yeah. Where do you trust your intuition when things are working, but then second guess it the moment things start to get quiet? And I want you to feel into that, right? Like close your eyes and take a deep breath in and feel the difference in your answers to both of those questions. And notice where your body is tightening when you even just think about it. And if you are open, type one word in the comments in the chat for where you lose yourself in trust, just one. Maybe it's in money, maybe it's in decisions, receiving, visibility, whatever it is. Declare it, write it, release it, right? Because these are all moments where your trust is getting tested. Sneaky, right? Now, that's the dark that's showing you exactly where the shift needs to happen. Now, here's what I don't feel a lot of people understand is that your intuition stops working when you choose to live and stay in the dark. Why? Because you tune it out. You just stop listening. And that, my friends, is what we're here today to shift. How does that sound? Say, let's do this, right? Say it in the comments, say it in the chat. Now, you're going to want to take out a notepad, piece of paper, whatever it is, and you're going to want to write these things down right now because I'm going to share with you guys the steps, the exact same steps that I do myself, that I have taught thousands of my clients for the decade that I've been doing this work, around how to move from abandoning yourself to trusting yourself no matter what. Okay? 3 steps, simple, bold, non-negotiable. You ready? Okay. Number 1, recognize when you're in the dark. Okay? You can't shift what you can't see. Right? So if you can't see that you're in the dark, then what do? Well, you tune into your body. So darkness can feel like tightness in your chest. It can feel like that sensation when you know you're second guessing decisions that you've actually already made. The dark feels like you're overcomplicating things, or actually things feel harder than what they used to feel, which was a little bit more simple. And the dark also feels like that moment where you're out and you're asking everybody else's opinion. Like how many of you guys will text a trusted colleague or a mentor and get their opinion to confirm what you already know. So you're distrusting of your own opinion, right? And we do that as a self-protection mechanism. Now, here's the thing is that your intuition is actually still very much there in that moment, under all that noise, and it's whispering to you what you already know. You're just not listening to it because there's that voice in the dark that is so much louder. So, your first job, well, I shouldn't say job, like your first step is to notice when you've abandoned it without judgment, just standing in the awareness of it and go, oh, I'm gripping again. Hang on a second. Okay, that's interesting, right? Because the moment you name it, you release the energy that feels tight, that keeps you in the dark, and it allows you to actually widen your perspective to choose differently. So I'm curious, share in the comments, where is one way that you know that you've been in the dark? Like, how does that feel? What is that translation in your body, or how does that even show up in your presence? Okay. Step number 2 is to choose trust before the evidence even shows up. Now, from step 1, you've recognized that you're in the dark. And that changes so much, okay? It changes it changes pretty much everything, right? When you choose to trust your intuition, no matter what, that's where the faith piece comes in. And it's not because you're logicking your way into it. And it's not because somebody else went, yeah, that's what I would do, or good decision, or whatever it is. But it's because you know intrinsically within your body that you're right, right? You get to make a decision to trust that. Not a hope, not a wish, a firm decision, right? Trusting what you know, trusting this nudge, even though I cannot explain it right now. Trusting yourself in the dark the same way that you would trust yourself in the light. Because those of us who stand in the light, we don't wait for proof. We frickin' decide. And then guess what happens? The proof follows. And this is how you break down the pattern of abandoning your intuition, AKA yourself, every time something new creates uncertainty. Okay? Step number 3 is actually anchoring yourself into the frequency of trust. Now, here's what most people get wrong in this process, right? They think that they can trust their intuition while white knuckling themselves through fear. That's not how this works. Trusting your intuition means that you're anchoring yourself, you're rooting yourself into the version of who you already know that this works out for. Being that version of you where on the other side, it's already done. And that person on the other side, she's not anxious. She's not gripping. She is calm. She is certain. She is confident. She is standing with conviction. And when you embody that version of yourself, when you live through her energy in the now, your intuition becomes crystal clear again. It whispers, it will guide you, and suddenly it feels obvious. That's the cool part. And that is the frequency of trust. So when you maintain that frequency of the light, when you are in the dark, wealth has no choice but to respond, but to come in, because the light creates an opening for it to come in. You're creating like a receptacle for the light. Now, drop a star or say me in the chat if you've ever made a decision from that place of certainty and then watch everything align around it. It's the coolest thing. And some of you may go, yeah, I'm really good at this in some areas, but in other areas, like, oh, it's like such a block for me. I see you, I hear you, I get it. And it's possible to shift in those other areas too. Your intuition works differently depending upon what frequency you're currently operating from, right? So if you're in the dark, your intuition is going to be overrun by the noise in the dark, right? The screams, the pulls, the feeling of desperation. In the light, it's going to whisper, it's going to guide, it's going to feel certain, and you follow it without question. So your intuition shifts into like, picture it like a light switch, right? When your intuition light goes on, it's because your trust shifted it up, right? If you turn a light on, your trust in yourself is what makes the light go on. And when you can trust yourself in the dark the same way you trust yourself in the light, wealth becomes inevitable. You are an open, expanded version to receive it. And it's because you're not abandoning what you know in deep inside of you every time things get just a little uncertain because you're anchored, you're certain, you're unshakable. Type a yes in the comments if you're somebody who you've ignored your intuition in the dark and regretted it later. I mean, yes, I have done that. I have done that too, guys. So here's what I want you to hear me say, and write this down. Wealth is your birthright. Wealth is your birthright because you are. It's the I am. That's it. And the only thing standing between you and your next level is that willingness to trust yourself, both in the light and in the dark. And I know this because I've been on both sides of it, right? I've been the woman earning well, but feeling capped, right? I've made companies multi-millions of dollars in corporate. I built a seven-figure business in 4 years. I rebuilt a new business after losing my mom, and I'm doing it again. And the difference between the version of me that stayed stuck and the version that scales is that I learned to trust my intuition no matter what it said. When I when I mentor, when I coach, I do it from the lens of what I've actually experienced, what I've lived, also what I've personally studied and gotten certifications on and mastered over a decade of doing energy healing, life coaching, Kabbalistic work, and real world wealth creation. But here's the thing, you can do this too, but you have to choose it. Like you have to decide. And it requires you to trust yourself enough to follow through, even when the logic can't explain it yet. And it may feel hard and complicated, but that internal shift isn't. It takes a decision. And so, if you're somebody who's ready to make that decision, and if you're ready to step into the version of you who trusts herself both in the light and the dark, then my friend, let's do this. Because if you're somebody who's ready to take action, if you're ready to trust, if you're ready to win, I want to let you know what gets to happen next for you. Okay. So you can take what I just gave you and run with it. Practice it, practice it, practice it. Practice recognizing when you're actually in the dark and choose to trust it anyway. Anchor yourself in that certainty. And if you're really disciplined at it and you are your best accountability partner, you're going to see shifts. Absolutely. But here's what I know. We are our own worst accountability partners, no matter what level you're starting at. And especially for those of us who have already created success on paper, who are not beginners, who are not starting from the ground up, you're at a level where the blocks are actually not quite as obvious anymore. They're really subtle, sneaky, like sneaky little things, right? And you're somebody who feels capped, but you can't quite name why, and you keep trying to figure it out yourself. You're in that place where like decisions that used to be easier are now taking longer than they used to. You're now second guessing moves that actually used to be so obvious and feel obvious to you. And in certain areas, you're overriding your intuition more than you actually follow it. And this isn't because you're doing something wrong, okay? It's because your body hasn't calibrated to this next level of trust that is required of you to get to where it is that you want to go. And that is exactly what I am going to be leading inside of my Sovereign Wealth experience that kicks off on Monday. It's a 6-week energetic recalibration for the woman who got stirred in today's live, the woman who is already capable of earning and ready to trust herself more fully in the light and in the dark. Now, we start next week, and here's what we're going to do, okay? We're going to strengthen your capacity to trust your intuition no matter what is going on around you, okay? I'm going to support you in learning how to stabilize your own nervous system so you can increase your capacity to hold more without that white knuckling. We're going to align your identity with that next level version of you so you stop feeling like you're outgrowing yourself. And I'm going to teach you to receive without bracing for the fall. How would it feel to anchor yourself in that deep of an unshakable trust so that your wealth can flow without resistance? And we're going to integrate that, you guys, so it becomes your new normal. Now, this is recalibration. It's not theory, because my clients have done this work with me. And it's not just about shifting your mindset. That's not enough, guys. They're actually shifting their results as a result of doing this work with me. Okay? Signing $10,000 contracts that they have no idea where they came from, receiving bonuses that are unexpected, hitting quarterly revenue goals in 2 weeks. And you guys, it's not because they were working harder and hustling. It's because they trusted in themselves more deeply. Okay? I have lived this. I have even my own proof of this. And as I've said, I've used my intuition to build millions in corporate, in coaching, and in real estate. And I've spent a decade mastering the energetic architecture behind it through Kabbalah, Theta healing, Reiki, and sound healing. And that's why I know without a shadow of a doubt that I can get you the results you desire faster than when you do it by yourself. And it's because I can see exactly what's blocking you and exactly how to dissolve it. Okay? So if you're somebody who is trying to figure out how to make money, or you need convincing that wealth is possible, this is not your room, my friends. I'm not your coach. This is for the woman who is ready to be in a consistent wealth receiving place and are ready to stop abandoning themselves every time things get uncertain at that higher level. So if you're done second guessing and you're ready to trust yourself fully, this is your container, okay? I'm looking for 5 more women. 5. We start on Monday. I know you're listening. We're going to do weekly Zoom calls. You're going to have support from me in between those calls in Voxer. And spots are limited because this type of work requires a certain level of intimacy and energy from me. So when they're gone, they're gone. And if you feel like you're one of those 5, if you feel it, type "I'm in the chat right now. I will put the link down below so that you can sign up and join us. Now, I want to end with this. Wealth is your birthright, but you have to choose it. And when you choose it, it means that you're actually choosing to trust yourself in the light and in the dark. So if you're ready, game on, let's do this. And I will see you guys on Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in live, for being here with me, for watching a replay. Sending you so much love and light always. Mwah. Bye, everybody.